So Man of Steel, the much-anticipated reboot of the Superman franchise, being helmed by Zack Snyder and being helped by one of the writers of the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman. Christopher Nolan's working on it. Even though, beforehand I started to see that, it was getting some negative attention. And I really enjoyed this movie, and I can see where it's flawed, but I don't see the kind of really big split between audiences, because they seem to love it, like really, really, really love it. So on one hand, I think that it's a flawed movie, but it does a pretty good job, actually, of it, where it kind of just excludes things that it knows would be like a faulty area. After I saw it, I kind of felt like, alright, there are certain aspects that could have gone into this movie that I think they avoided because, where it could have been flawed. And I don't know if that, let's say really, scenes of content-heavy dialogue aren't in this movie. And it works really well without it. It would have been nice to have it, but I don't know if that's not really Zack Snyder's thing. And I don't really like Zack Snyder. I think a lot of people were really excited he was going to be working on this, and a lot of people like me, okay, 300, it's fun, but Watchmen, good parts, not a great movie together. Hated Sucker Punch. Just not overall a big fan of Zack Snyder, but I think that his style really lends itself to this movie. This movie looks fantastic. It's beautifully shot, just not as... I feel like the editing's not as over the top as his previous films. It's even toned down, but in a really great way. There's also some issues of not necessarily pacing, but just cohesiveness, where there are just parts that feel not necessarily out of place, but it could have been organized a little better. I think they picked a good story to start with. Where else would you really start? But I think the way they set it up works very well, and they had enough for the origin story and to go to a villain. Sure, not everything was that developed. Michael Shannon, Michael Shannon was a very good villain for this movie. Maybe a little silly, but it's really hard to avoid with Superman. I think he did a great job, and I think he got, enough screen time with everything else going on. The Russell Crowe scenes were awesome. He was in there even more than I thought he'd be, so that was great. Kevin Costner scenes in the flashbacks were really, except for sometimes their placement, I thought they were really well done. Just him as a child, I thought really worked, added a lot of sentimentality to the film. Yeah, and I think while it's not emotionally powerful in all places, there actually are some really good parts of emotion in this movie where you kind of connect with the characters in a way that, Superman previously hasn't. A lot of that really doesn't come from Henry Cavill, though. I think he was a great choice to play Superman. I instantly was fine, immediately was like, alright, that's Superman, whatever. Not just because he looks like him, I think he portrays it very well. I think he can... I hope in the future movies he's given maybe more to work with to expand on the character, but I don't think this was the place to start doing that. And Amy Adams was probably the only part of this movie that I just didn't... I love Amy Adams. I think she's a great actress. I think they should have gone with maybe a more unknown actress to play Lois Lane, just to give it this, fresh... Because, with Henry Cavill, I was like, alright, that's Superman. That's fine for however many films this goes on. When I see Amy Adams, I'm like, oh, Lois Lane, I'm like, oh, it's Amy Adams. And I don't know if that's just me or what, but and the character wasn't that great overall anyway. But amazing action sequences towards the end. It's kind of a jarring experience towards the end because it's kind of just trying to tie up loose ends, or, conclude the film while leaving it open, and maybe it struggled a little bit there, but it still overall just was so, not distracting, but yeah, the climax was just so great that I didn't really mind. It's not a movie, at least for me, that I'll be talking about for a while, but I had a really great experience with it. I don't think it's amazing, but it's a really solid film, and I don't get a lot of the criticism, so I'm gonna give it an 8. I did enjoy it, and go and see it. It's not bad at all.